So the next important thing what we have to look in with respect to tool it is databases. And because database is the main container which holds the data for processing or both for reading the data or for producing, storing the data, we need a container, and our container is databases. And when we look into the container of databases, before getting into this slide, we have to have very clear understanding of another dimension of databases that has been come along with big data. And what is the reason of that database along with big data? It is we call those database models as NoSQL databases. So earlier what we have, it is called as SQL databases. And why we do have a new kind of different kind of data model that is being required. When I say data model, it is the way we store data. Earlier, we used database management systems, and all these DBMS based softwares, they store data only in a specific format called as structured format. So when we say something called a structured format, the data will be stored only in forms of rows and columns. Now, already we know an answer. We are in a position, we know that 90% of the world's data is being generated after 2012. And most of these data is unstructured in nature. Why? Because of the data that is being evolved from social media. Now, there exists a question, how do we accommodate these unstructured data, whatever we have stored, into our structured representation? It is not so easy and it is quite challenging also. Let us just have a brief insight on what makes difficult of storing unstructured data in the existing SQL based structured model or existing structured data model. That it is very important for us to understand before getting into this NoSQL database, where we are not going to go detail about the architectures, but a basic understanding why it is very important. Why do we need a NoSQL data model? So when we assume that when we say that is SQL, so when you want to record, say, these students in a class, so normally when somebody asks us to write that with an example, we'll form a tabulation, we'll make the column names, and we'll just push up all the data which is similar in nature. The same kind of representation, tabular representation, rows and column representation has been available for databases and structured data. And in all business domains, the data what has to be stored, it is predefined and it is being well defined. So you can come out with a structure. So whenever somebody does a business of any organization, we know what has to be stored, where it is be stored, how it has to be related, and all these are predefined, since it is already very clear and very accurate, or we know very concrete that this is what has to be stored, so we can establish a structure. Now, when we come into an unstructured data format, we couldn't have an unstructured, we have an unstructured data format. We couldn't ask anybody to write a letter with the same words or same structure. That is not possible for everybody to write. So since we have unstructured data, everybody, for example, when we take resume that has been generated, or we do prepare a resume, every resume have a different kind of context, every resume have a different kind of representation. Somebody may start with work experience, somebody may start with educational qualification, somebody may start explaining their strength and their group. So it depends upon individual. So for unstructured data, we couldn't fix up with this is what is a template. This is one challenge, that is very difficult to put this unstructured data into a structured data. Secondly, even when we try to store this unstructured data into one structured data set, is again, we'll just look into the same use case what we have discussed with respect to resume. Suppose there is a heading called a skill set. So when we have it as a skill set, somebody would have mentioned it as programming language, and somebody would have represented that they know that C, C++, Java, or so many things, and somebody would written about as operating system. Now, see, when I want to store all these things, because in IT industry, people try to take resume based on specific skill set. They want people, employees, to be good in C programming or Java programming. So I could not put everything into a common scale. When we do it in a common scale, again, we have to do a filtering process. Now, what is the other alternatives? I create one column for Java, one column for C, one column for Python, one column dot 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 dot, because it has, again, it will be growing like a tile. It's a very long tile. So most of the data representation of unstructured data, when it is being converted for structured representation, leave us with so many empty columns. And whenever we have more empty columns for a structured representation, it creates with lot of other issues that has been related with the structured database model. So the data structure will be sparse. So most of the columns will be empty in nature. And when we create a data model and we put in more empty of data, so we're trying to retrieve the data, most of computation power has to be spent on retrieving this empty information and then processing it again. This makes unstructured data models very difficult, or unstructured data formats very difficult to store in a structured representation because of large sparse data nature. So to overcome that particular thing, there is another advancement in databases called as NoSQL databases. And when we say it as NoSQL databases, it means not only SQL databases. And what are the different categories of NoSQL databases are? It includes 4 different category of databases: document databases, columnar databases, graph-based databases, key value pair databases. So we have different type of databases. Now, when I want to store all the assignment of my students, right? I have a document. It is a document store. I do store it as a document store of my students, right? I can store documents alone, related documents into a single store with some ID. So we go for document databases. MongoDB is one such wonderful databases which is being used by industry. So document model, storing all documents, we need a document database. When we come into for columnar databases, so your Amazon or DynamoDB or Rayak, or there are n hundreds of open source NoSQL databases. Now, when we look onto data warehouses, all our database and data warehouse models are horizontal in nature. You cannot split your data as vertical slices. So when you want to split up with vertical slices, again it requires n number of operation, a costlier operation called as to be join operation, which is very complex and it is very expensive in terms of computation and computations. So in data warehouse, so this columnar databases help us the databases to be sliced vertically. So we have column stores, wide column stores. I can just group columns and just do an analytics part. Need not splice my data horizontally. So again, that is essential for data analytics part. And the other kind of database it is key value pair databases. See, now when as I said at the example, a student may be good in one programming language, right? So I can create a key, I can put in with the student's name, what are all the subsets keys being familiar in one column, rather than generating different things for every individual student. So key value pair database, it is a dictionary like structure. When I call A, all relevant to A will be put into one specific container. AA will be into another container. The same model is being used as key value pair. HBase is such key value pair representation. Do you remember where we have come across this term HBase? Yes. Hadoop stores data in which form, in which data model? HBase. So key value pair databases: Cassandra, Accumulo, Then you have Amazon SimpleDB. All these are key value pair databases. And there is another interesting database or data model that is called as graph-based data models. So now again there exists a complexity. Now all of us are being connected with the social media platform, and in social media platform we are connected virtually, and always we do have our friends, we do share it across our friends, and she do communicate with some few people. Now you need a hierarchical like a relationship structure. A is friend of who are the friends of A, who are the friends of B, who are the friends of C. Is there any relation or relativity, connectivity between friends of C and friends of A? So can you now remember something as graph-like structure in forms of nodes? Yes. So Facebook or your tweet or any social media, the data is being represented using your graph-based structure. So when we say it is a graph-based structure, Neo4j is one graph-based structure. Infinite graph is one graph-based structure. Again, since the data is same, but the representation format of representing data is getting different because of the varied data characteristics of variety of data formats. Yes, audio files, video files, text files, image files, so many files, structured, unstructured, and semi-structured. So to store this data formats and structure, which could not fit into the structured data models, we go for NoSQL databases. And these NoSQL databases are classified into four types, which is a document database, a graph database, a columnar database, and a key value pair database. I think this is where we have to understand. And again, in terms of architecture, the data model representation of your RDBMS and your NoSQL database is, it varies differently. And to speak about something to be very simple, what to say, on normal RDBMS based data models, they ensure always on something called as consistency, richness, and correctness. It does not allow any duplication of values. This is what is the architecture is built, and we call it to be the property called as asset. Atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. This is how RDBMS is built. So it always ensures consistency. It always checks for correctness. So whenever it checks for correctness, the data itself is modeled in such a way that there exists no duplicates, no null values. But when we look in unstructured database, it's quite contradictory. You may have duplicates. We need duplicate representation. We need to replicate, and we do a lot of things. So in that case, that particular model will not be sufficient. So they now here they go in for their RDBMS. They go for a theorem called as CAP theorem, and here they do go there. It is the consistency CAP. C for consistency, A for availability, and P for persistence. Whereas for NoSQL data models, they go for base. So basic eventual consistency. The first core importance in NoSQL is availability of data. Then achieving consistency in a long run of time. Not focusing more on consistency, because availability of data is very important in all your unstructured data models rather than emphasizing on consistency, right? So this is where we go in for NoSQL data models. So not too much of technical details will be explored in this session with respect to NoSQL data models, because again NoSQL data model is again an ocean like thing where we have to look on a lot of things about this. This is a topic which helps you to have a brief insight on different kinds of platforms, tools, and data models that are being available for, say, big data or data analytics. And let me go to the first slide to make the differences very clear. So the difference it is, here your model it is non-relational, and here your model it is relational. And here your data should have same properties, where need not have same properties on the fly. So you have so many things, right? There is in terms of schema, NoSQL schema-less data models. Transaction, And there also NoSQL varies, right? Consistency and scale. So all those things, the difference what has been said, it has been put up in this side. So the difference between NoSQL insisting what is a necessity to get into the NoSQL data model rather than SQL models. And where should I use for a SQL data model, and where should I go in for a NoSQL data model? Why much emphasize? Because whenever we start designing a solution for a big data problem, then data storage, it becomes a very important and essential component, right? So now where do we put in SQL? Which kind of domain it needs SQL? Which kind of domain it needs NoSQL representation? So gaming, social media, IoT, because the same sensor will be exhibiting so many values at every time. I could not create a structured database. It leads to sparse in nature. Mobile data, geolocations. Every time we'll be pushing it. So we need a key value pair data model. Key value store, document stores, column pair. It's exactly given. You see key value pair, gaming and social. IoT, we need a document store. And column store, we need for mobile or enterprises, that has been given. And when you look into your SQL models, we need web, we need mobiles, enterprises, and data marts. So what they do use? They use relational table storage, and they use relationships with joins. So this is where is your NoSQL applications are being used. And what is the NoSQL market? So this is what is the NoSQL database market. Almost when you look into the slide, you can see that all the domains, biotech, defense, ERP, finance, geoscience, weather, medicine, every domain are now slowly getting into this NoSQL data models. And existing database vendors, which is Oracle and MySQL or Microsoft or open sources, they are trying to have a blend of representing unstructured data into their structured data. The reason it is, so industries now have to rely on external data sources also to gather the deep insight from their business scenarios or the business components. So NoSQL data market is going to flourish, or it is going to become an important thing. And this is what it gives you an overall technology stacks with some related areas of big data such as IoT, cloud, and cybersecurity. So it gives you all things whatever we have discussed. So for data analytics, what do we mean? For big data platforms, what do we need? For SQL and NoSQL, what do we need? And cloud, what do we need? So we have just given a blend as a technology stack. So once you want to get into big data analytics, then the knowledge of all these essential skill sets is very, very important. And this is a slide which gives the data science landscape. What are the tools, what are the techniques that has been necessary, what are the vertical applications where it can be used, all those things that can be that has been very clearly been given in this particular slide. What is the landscape is an interesting slide which has been taken from an source, and it is quite interesting. Know that it has a lot of things that has to be known for data analytics. Now coming to the very important topic of data science, emerging roles. Now, what are the roles or job opportunities that has been necessary or that is in data science? This is it. So here, data scientist is responsible. Data science emerging roles, there are three types of data scientist roles. One is data scientist, data engineer, and data analyst. So what is data scientist is? Data scientist is responsible for scrubbing data to bring out deep insights of data, right? And the data engineer is one who's responsible for managing and administering the infrastructure and storage of data. So where there comes the big data as a platform, strong skills in programming, software engineering, deep knowledge on data warehousing, expertise in Hadoop, NoSQL and SQL technologies. So whenever we talk about big data, we talk about big data in form of a data engineer or a data architect. When we look in form of a data science analyst, then we look in of your competency skills in any one of your data analytics tools and with basic understanding of mathematics and statistics. And data scientist is one who has an open-ended research blend of mind to analyze, integrate, and bring out different kind of pooling of information together to get on insights of data. And he or she should be an expertise in areas of all domains: computer science, mathematics, good knowledge in statistics, and domain expertise. Overall, this is very, very important for the roles of data scientist and for the roles of data analyst or data engineer. So setting up your architectures and all those things, it is very, very important. And who are eligible for data engineering? A computer science professional is eligible for data engineering. And for data analytics analyst, anybody with a blend of some data analytics tools is suffice to get into the positions of undergraduation and post graduation. So data analyst normally requirements goes from UG and PG and so on. And there comes, this is again nice to see that all the data analytics that has been done is blended into big data platform. Since your data size is very huge in all these things, when you want to analyze data, you need a bed to make your data light on. So you need data analytics as an important part. And you to gather the insight, we have so many areas such as market profitability, labor efficiency, operational efficiency, sales efficiency, and so many other things are very, very quite essential. So this is where it is your data essentials or required. Now, coming to things of big data skill sets. What are the skill sets that it has been very, very essential or that has been more required when you want to get in big data? You need a very good expertise and skill set, expertise in in Linux, an operating system. Why Linux is emphasized? Because all big data softwares and platforms and tools are available as open source, and any open source, it goes blend right with Linux, where we need not have an VMware virtual machine creation. So Linux knowledge is very, very essential. And good expertise or experience on knowledge on programming basics is very, very important as a skill set to get into big data and data analytics. So what is your programming basics? Is your knowledge on data structures available, so that we can understand what is my attribute type, how it can be represented inside my programming model to take up my result. So programming knowledge on looping constructs, your basic data structures, and writing some simple functions is very, very essential. So a slight knowledge, it's not an expertise. In very good knowledge on C programming of data structures and looping construct, it is more than enough to have a better understanding of any programming languages such as Scala or Python. So programming basics is very, very essential. And third important knowledge, it should be on SQL. Why on SQL? It is, we deal with databases. It has been dealt with data warehouse. So which stores data only in those containers. So in order to, when you want to retrieve data from those containers, then without knowledge on SQL, it is not possible. So any data scientist or a data engineer, he should be able to fetch data from so many integrated data sources. So where SQL plays an important role. And any one data analytic tool is being needed for the lower positions of data analyst. When it is a data engineer, then he should be very well in setting up the architecture for your platforms of Hadoop, Spark, Kafka, Woozy, Zookeeper, and all those things. And a very good knowledge of NoSQL database management. How do we configure, say, columnar databases or something, then attach with your programming concepts such as Python or an R or any of your frameworks, how do we fit in? All these knowledge is very, very essential in order to get into your big data skill sets. And I think finally we have come into the wrap up of the session. So when we look into the wrap up of the session, again, we in this session we have explored more on data tools, and we have explored data tools starting with Hadoop ecosystem. Why ecosystem we have started with Hadoop ecosystem? It is because it is again collection of components or tools exclusively that can be done. Again, that can be, that knowledge on those is very important when we want to work with a larger domain of problems. Then we have seen about the platforms which are required. Then we also dealt with the programming languages that are very essential. So Python and R, it is a program. Now people are somewhere using Julia, the next version of Python, where Julia has also started coming in. But Python has been used in almost all your machine learning algorithms and all those things. Then we have also looked in about your other environments, your techniques that are very, very necessary, where one have to be very thorough and to work into this big data analytics domain. And we have also looked in the different perspectives of data science roles, and we have a very detailed overview of NoSQL databases, because a big data analytics or a big data analyst should have a very thorough knowledge on programming on Python, your Scala, then on to this Hadoop, MapReduce models, either Tickgun, Hive or NoSQL databases. So what are the data science roles? What is the positions? What is the skill set? So the overall this session we have covered with this. And finally, we have to be very clear that big data analytics is again understanding how this large volume of data can be processed. This is what we deal with big data analytics. Again, when we say data analytics, again that is a very separate stream where it has own methodologies. How do we deal data? How do we gather insights from the data? What can be done with the data? This is so in big data we say that how do I process large volumes of data? How do I store large volumes of data in an efficient computational way? So there comes big data. So it works as a wonderful technology as well as a platform as well as a tool. So data analytics is something different which has its own methodology. This differentiation is very, very essential for the learner to understand that data analytics, again, that is an separate wing of something, and big data analytics is something separate to be done with it. So with this, I think we have covered almost whatever has been required for the session wrap up, and all these tools that has been mentioned are available under Apache, which can be explored, which can be configured, and which can be integrated also. And everybody can start practicing it, because since it is open source, there are n number of libraries that also been available. So all these sources are being free, and it can be downloaded under Apache. And R and Python all are open sources environment. We can environment or we can install it anything. So any big data technology that has to be installed only in Linux, because even we can go in for a Windows flavor. When we go in for a Windows flavor, we create VM based virtual machines. So whenever we create virtual machines, we need high processing RAM capacity. So 8 GB of RAM is minimum required. The reason is, when we create a VM where Linux will be installed, then this Windows will be my master OS, where my Linux also will be sitting, and then VMware facilitates in such a way that it handshake between my Linux and Windows to monitor it. So Windows will be my core OS and Linux will be my guest OS sitting on that. All your big data tools and technology will be sitting on Linux. So there we require more GB of memory. But when we go directly for your Linux based installation, then your minimum GB of 1 GB RAM is suffice to start with working on this big data technologies. And finally, we are at the end of the session. So moving out. So again, I do acknowledge all the contributors who has contributed, and where I have used some slides which are beautifully presented for the educational purpose. I give my acknowledgement and citations for them. And before thank you, we have one more session that is to be discussed on big data application. So until then, see you, take care and bye.